Thank you. Chief guest of the day, Dr. Alexander Jacob, IPS, Director General of Police, retired, and Nodal Officer of National Police University. Members of TMA, student chapter members, president and members of the Bankers Club, invited guests, and my dear friends. A warm welcome to the second session of our webinar series. Before I go into the formal function, I would just like to touch upon 3 activities of TMA after our last meeting. 1, TMA along with the Kerala Travel Mart and with the support of ISAF, Merlin Hotel and Sun Hospital did a free vaccination drive, and we vaccinated around 450 people. The Deputy DMO, Dr. Jayanti, inaugurated the function, and it was well received. And here I would like to place my on record the efforts put in by Engineer M.R. Gopalakrishnan, Engineer Francis George, and Shushma and the team TMA for successfully executing this program. The second point I would like to touch upon, our past president, CATS Anantharaman, had suggested that we should engage with the District Industry Center as well as the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise. We reached out to them. As a result, DIC invited us for an international selection with Industries Minister P. Rajiv. And we had offered our services to the industry. As a result, it was decided TMA along with CII will set up an industrial clinic. Just like when someone is sick, they go to a doctor. If an industry faces challenges, they would approach us, this industrial clinic. So we need members from TMA to volunteer for this program, be mentors. We will require you to spare around 3 hours in a month. So looking forward for volunteers. Please give your name to our Honorable Secretary, Engineer Francis. And the third point I would like to touch upon is the ensuing All India Management Association National Management Convention, which is to be held on 22nd and 23rd. You will shortly receive the link. And in this function, our past president, Dr. V.M. Xavier, will receive the Best LMA Award. And I would request everyone to be a part of this historic event. So that goes with the 3 updates. Friends, what comes to your mind when you say about Thrissur? Cultural capital? Yes. Financial capital? Yes. Thrissur Puram? Yes. But beyond this, we Thrissurites are proud of his round taken card and look at the vision of our past leaders. But sadly, that is missing today. Today, we find our councillors fighting over a master plan that we have never seen, a master plan we have never deliberated, a master plan that we are not sure will solve the challenges of the people of Thrissur. This year, infrastructure is one of our focus area. And as one of the leading organizations of Thrissur, we have to play our role. We will have to give intellectual inputs, get the best master planners in India or abroad, and vet these master plans, or give management solutions to the infrastructure projects that are stalled. It is said, it is always good to look backward before you look forward. Look within before you look outside. So we did a little research on the past infrastructure that was done in Thrissur by our past leaders. And it is then we came across this beautiful documentary by Dr. Alexander Jacob. His depth of knowledge on this subject is amazing, and his speeches are captivating. So listen to him when he speaks on the topic, the legacy of visionary town planning. Friends, Dr. Alexander's detailed biodata was attached with your invite for your perusal. He is a scholarly leader who was awarded the President's Police Medal for his meritorious service by the President of India in the year 2004. He was also instrumental in setting up the Kerala Police Academy in 2004. So friends, listen to Dr. Alexander and get inspired. So this webinar is open to you for your speech. Thank you.
My best wishes to all the members of the Thrissur Management Association. Around 16 years back, I came to your association to deliver a talk in 2005. It is very happy to come back to you again to talk about Thrissur. Thrissur was a forest area. It had a Buddhist and a Jain temples there before the 7th century. But by the 8th century, it took prominence. And we all know the story about how great Shankaracharya was born. After Shivaguru and Aryamba, his parents came to the Vadakunathan temple, prayed there, and Lord Shiva appeared to them and blessed them with a very brilliant child, but with short life. And all that story is well entrenched in Shankara Digvijaya and other stories. That happened around 788 AD. But then Thrissur had no prominent institutions for about 6 centuries. And by the 17th century beginning, the Cochin Raja had a marriage alliance with one of the families in Thrissur. And thereby, he shifted his residence to Thrissur. So around 350 years back onwards, Thrissur came into prominence with that alliance. But by 1750, the Samorin of Calicut invaded with an army and captured Thrissur. He encamped there for 10 years. And by 1752, he was thrown out of Thrissur after a great battle. And the memories of that battle still survive with the old population of Thrissur. Then the Cochin Rajas decided that they should have Thrissur as a northern bastion to stop any invading armies to come to Kochi. So they started embankments of constructing of laterite stone walls around the Thrissur city. And when this was not over, by 1766, Hyder Ali came with his forces. Around 8,000 soldiers with cavalry came and about to capture Thrissur. They were in and around Thrissur town at that time. Then because of a battle which formed up in Karnataka, he went back. But in 1789, his son, Tipu Sultan came. He came with around an army of 30,000, aided by around 5,000 horses cavalry. They captured Thrissur town, encamped there. Then they moved to the south. And near Koretti, the Travancore lines were constructed by Travancore king, Cochin king, and the British put together. And because of these Travancore lines, Tipu had to stop. But then the Britishers attacked Budannur and captured Budannur fort. So Tipu returned. But the great flood which stopped Tipu Sultan caused the destruction of Cochin port. The quay of the Arabian Sea was inundated. The original port of Kochi was Kalur, Kalamur, that means the port. The port was under soil. And the great Cochin port was not there for 200 years. Until 1924, Robert Bristow constructed the new port. When the Cochin port was destroyed, the Cochin Raja had nothing much to depend on the backwaters of Kochi. So he wanted to shift his headquarters to Thrissur. And fortunately for us, the king of that time was Shaktan Tamburan, a great ruler who came to power in 1790 and ruled up to 1805 for about 15 years. He looked around Thrissur town and he said, look, the teak trees here prompted Tipu to halt here because every horse can be tied to a teak tree and teak is very strong. So he ordered the cutting of all the teak trees at that place. So Tekangada became a place without teka, without any teka. And when the trees were being cut down, the soldiers noted there is one tree which is not a teka. That was an Elanyi tree. So they had checked whether it should be cut down. They said, no, only teak trees can be cut down. So the Elanyi remained there. So when the Puram is there, the only place where they could get shade was the Elanji tree. So that created the Elanjitra Mela. People having their drums on that shade of the Elanji tree. And at that time, fortunately for us, Saktan Damran was shown the passage in which, in Arthashastra, when Chanakya described how Padaliputra was built. Padaliputra was built around a temple. And that temple was at a height of around 50 meters height. So Chandragupta Maurya, around that temple, Chandragupta Maurya had a slope. And around that, after when the slope ended, they had a circular road around it. And that is how Padaliputra was constructed. And it was very easy to defend. So the incoming army had to climb a hill when the defending army is on the hilltop. A Kargil war-like situation is there. So Padaliputra survived so many attacks because of that. So Saktan Damran modeled Thrissur on the basis of that famous map. That is the structure of Padaliputra. So on the center there is Vadakumatha temple. A 2 square kilometer area around that temple was reserved only for the temple. So nobody could step in there or construct anything there. And around that place, he constructed a road for bullock carts to pass. This was the structure of Thrissur town. And there was only one institution inside that place, prison, a jail. Because the court at that time was sitting in the veranda of Vadakumatha temple. So anybody who is convicted in a 100 meters walk can be brought to the prison. So the prison was there. So then Saktan Damran organized the Puram. He invited all the Nair chiefs and the Brahmin families. They will come with their kuda or umbrella to show their identity, to make their hajar. And when before the temple festival is there, they will order for call the name of each family. They will raise their kuda and mark the attendance. That made the famous Kodamatam of the Thrissur Puram. And the place was fixed because the prisoners in the prison said, "Oh king, we should also see something for the Puram." So he ordered that the Kodamatam should be done in front of the prison. So prisoners could see the colorful umbrellas exhibited there. Then the women folk in the harem told the king that we should also see something about the Puram because we are not permitted to go there and mingle with the crowd. So Saktan Damran ordered that the Ratri Puram should be constructed, should be done in front of the women's quarters. Since it is night, nobody could see the royal women, but women could see something up in the sky as the Ratri Puram or the crackers going up there. So a kernel of the Thrissur town planning was done by Saktan Damran between 1790 and 1805. And by the time the Britishers found out the situation, so they said we should have something in Thrissur to hold the people down, the country down. So in 1809, they brought their famous infantry from Madras and headquartered their infantry in the Thrissur round in front of the temple. The Raja was furious because the English soldiers had somebody Christian, somebody Muslim, somebody from Indonesia. All these fellows wandering around the temple he didn't like. Then he persuaded the Britishers to shift the cantonment from the round to around 200 meters away. So they went to that place. Saktan Damran realized that country can improve only with the trade and commerce. So they invited the merchants from different places, from Kodungalur, from Guruvayur, etc., to come and have shops in and around the Thrissur town. So the merchants came and settled down one by one. But then came the problem of Agnimula. Merchants said, in Agnimula, we will not construct any shops because according to our superstition, if anything is constructed in Agnimula, the thing will end up in a massive fire. Saktan Damran realized the situation. He said, bring the Christians. Those fellows will survive in any Agni, no problem. So the Christians were given the Agnimula of the Thrissur town. That is a place where the Puthambally and the Kaldaya churches are situated there. Literally, it was found true in history that the Christians came, lived in Agnimula, they constructed their shops there, and they brought in a very important trade, that was the gold jewelry. They designed this gold jewelry and started exporting it from there. And they brought in the Western trade and connected it with Thrissur. So the economic status of the people were completely lifted up, because the many people living there were Brahmins and Nayars. They will not do business. The Vaishya people and the Christians alone can do business. So this Agnimula solution was a very good solution. So what Shaktadharan created a small microcosm of the present Thrissur by 1805. And then the cantonment added to this situation. At that time, a series of great kings came to Kochi. Their capital was Kochi, and they had the famous temple at the Pudutra. But since the port is not there, Kochi have reduced in their economic activity. So Thrissur came up. So the twin capitals of Kochi and Thrissur operated for some time. And when it went on like that for about 100 years. Luckily for us, a great series of kings came up. One was the great Keralavarma king, who is called in the official language by another name, who went to Germany, studied there botany along with the Kaiser of Germany, and came back, and he became the king from 1895 to around 1940. So around 19 years he ruled. His reign was very good. He developed the Kochi kingdom very well, and he gave his capacity in botany and brought thousands of trees never grown in India from different parts of the world, planted in 1 hectare area. Boundary wall will be trees, and around he planted around 50 acres like that. That is now the place which was converted as the medical university, the University of Medical Colleges. Even now, if you go there, the great trees planted there can be easily seen. But when the First World War started in 1914, this fellow is a classmate of Kaiser William II of Germany. So Britishers said, dangerous fellow, this fellow may side with the Kaiser. So they told him to abdicate, and he abdicated. And his brother came to power. His brother was fifth in the line of succession because of 2 deaths and one person who became a little loose in his mind or something. The other 3 claimants were not there. So a person who was never trained or never expected to become the ruler became the ruler in 1914. When he came to power, he knew Gauli Shastram, Pakshi Shastram, and astrology, but nothing like politics or statecraft. So he told his wife, Parakuttu Nethiyaramma, you take over the administration, and wherever I want to, you want me to sign, you bring the file, I will sign. So literally, Parakuttu Nethiyaramma took over the administration from 1914 to 1932, about 18 years, a glorious reign as far as Thrissur is concerned. Now, by this time, we were very lucky to have a series of divans. The first one was Banerjee, a Bengali fellow was brought by Keralavarma and made as a divan. He was the fellow who published the Cochin State Manual, written by Nagamaya, complete codification of records, complete listing of buildings, and where are the vacant areas, where are the places where buildings can be constructed. A mighty planning was done by him. And after that, when Parakuttu Nethiyaramma and Ramavarma took over, what she did was, he first appointed a Maharashtrian fellow as the Divan. His name was Bore, B-H-O-R-E. Bore was a great administrator. And when Bore and Parakuttu Nethiyaramma took over power, Cochin king was indebted by around 5.5 lakh rupees. 100 coconuts will fetch only 1 rupee. Then only you will understand how much is the big value. Britishers expected Cochin Raja to sue for pension and annex Kochi to Malabar district, because Mattancheri is already with the British. So if Kochi also get into the Malabar district, then they can plunder the whole area. That was what Britishers wanted. Sure, the Parakuttu Nethiyaramma and Pore, they did such a business. And the first thing they did was Tenancy Act. with which the land revenue was fixed. State lands were sold to people to construct houses and stay. And unnecessary posts, 1/3 of the posts were abolished. And in 6 years, successfully, all the 5.5 lakh rupees were paid back. And the Cochin state came into 1 lakh rupees surplus by 1921. This was a fantastic activity for which the British government gave her a big award, Kaisar-i-Hind. The other person who got Kaisar-i-Hind is Mahatma Gandhi, the father of our nation. Then only you will understand the greatness of that award for the British Commonwealth. It was a wonderful achievement by her. And then she started doing a series of activities for which she brought a second Diwan. His name was Raghavachari, great man. And this fellow happened to have a visionary fellow. So first thing the Queen said was that this Thrissur town should be developed into a modern town. And Raghavachari said that is possible only if two things are done. Number one, the road around the round has to be tarred or concreted. It is only a soil, this thing, every rain, the pitches and holes are formed. No vehicles could pass through. And Europe is going into automobile world. We cannot go with the bullock carts and horse carts, etc., etc. This impressed upon Parukkutti Nethiyarama. She ordered the whole round should be concreted with the cement and equal amount of things. And she couldn't trust Indians to have this PWD contractors. So she negotiated with a British company, Herbert Company. And they came and concreted that road. The roads we constructed 10 years back has fallen. But look at the road around the round, 100 years, it still survives without any problem. That was the mechanism with which it was built. She said only 70% of the money will be paid to the company on completion. They have to do repair and maintenance of the road if any maintenance happens. If there is no repair and maintenance to be done, the balance amount will be paid in 10 equal installments by 1931. So the British company agreed. So 70% of the money they received. A wonderful concrete road was constructed. Every road in Kerala will be destroyed in rains, but not this road. And then she said, the water falling on 2 square kilometers of land in and around the Vadakkunnatha temple have to flow out. Every year that water comes and destroys the road. So at 16 places on that round, she constructed underground canals under the road. And wastewater canal was dug around the round, and it was covered. And the water in 2 square kilometers area will fall down. And through this canal under the road, it will go to 360 degrees on the thing. So even in 2018 floods, even in 1924, the great Tonnoottombaile Vellappakam, nothing happened to Thrissur round and the Thrissur town. That is the farsighted of that lady. Then she said, look, there is a prison in front of this jail. You cannot have all the criminals headquartered jail very close to a prison. So she started a judicial system. And with that judicial system, the judges were moved out of the rounds. And it should be shifted to some place. So they said, what to be done? So Raghavachari, great visionary, he told her, look, there is a place called Viyur very close by the Thrissur. This jail should be shifted to that place. And then the zoo we have started in Thrissur in 1885. To the third zoo in India. The first zoo was Bhopal Zoo, second one was 1853 Trivandrum Zoo, third one was Thrissur Zoo. He said this animal should be pushed out of Thrissur to Kochi. So the zoo was shifted to Kochi, and the main jail of Cochin state was at Tripunthura. That Tripunthura jail was shifted from there. The jail in front of Ramavaram, this Vadakkunnatha temple was merged with that jail and pushed to Viyur. And that is how the central jail of Viyur came into existence. Around 50 acres of land was allotted. And the two jails, Tripunthura jail and the Vadakunatha jail was joined together and shifted to Viyur. The zoo which was pushed to the place where the original the prison was there in Tripunthara was brought back to Thrissur in 1912. That's another change of the whole system. So this kind of system she did, and the jail was pushed out to the round. So now the 2 square kilometers of land, Vadakunatha temple and the round became temple property, just like Padaliputram, a headquarter thing. Then this lady said, look, any city can survive only if it has drinking water. No ruler in Kerala has ever thought of such a centralized water system. So she designed a central drinking water system for Thrissur. She constructed Peringav Dam, Peringav Pond, what we call it now, Peringav Kulam. She dug it to a level of 9.5 meters down, so that there is perennial water. And perennial water is there, and 1 meter height she put pebbles. That pebbles were mixed with charcoal, lime, and other antibiotic things. It was mixed with that, and then put, and the lowest depth of 1 meter was filled up with that. Then balance 8.5 meters of can be used for holding water. So water which goes under the soil will come purified to the top, from where she had a drinking water system, pumping system, from which everybody in Thrissur town would get fresh water. Thrissur had a population of 20,000 people at that time. A 5 square kilometer area was called Thrissur town. And this 20,000 people got drinking water from this system. It continued like that up to 1962, when the Peachy Dam was constructed. From Peachy Dam, water supply was brought for irrigation and drinking purposes to Thrissur. So that system survived for 40 years. And from Thrissur, Trivandrum and other cities copied the system, centralized water system. And the first copy was Wellington Water Works at Trivandrum, which started supplying Trivandrum people. Trivandrum had only around 10,000 people at that time. Now Trivandrum has around 15 lakh people. So this is another wonderful achievement of Parakuttu Netyaram, a centralized water system, jail system, and the construction of the round and the town. Then she got the idea of satellite towns. You see, in European cities, we have satellite towns. But in Kerala, no ruler could ever think about a satellite town. Any satellite will be rival to the main town. That is our hypocrisy. So what she did was something wonderful. She had 1,000 acres of land in the name of the Raja, her husband, at the present Ramavarmapuram. So that 1,000 acres was handed over to the state after taking 1 rupee as remuneration. Because anything donated, there can be cases. So 1 rupee, she handed over the 1,000 acres. And that land was named after her husband. That is Ramavarmapuram. So Thrissur has a satellite city surrounding it. The Viyur area was developed in Ramavarmapuram. So jail was already there. Now the engineering college is there. Now the police academy is there. The excise academy is there. All India radio is there. Now we have 18 institutions at that place. Think of a situation if all these 18 cities, institutions started coming around Vadakunatha temple, what would have been the Vadakunatha temple and Thrissur position? So her farsightedness was such that she shifted this additional institutions and buildings to a satellite city of Ramavarmapuram in her 1,000 acres. And then she thought about a Cochin University. She sent her son to Glasgow University to learn. And from this place, her son came back after studies. He told his son that we will have a Cochin University and you will be its first vice chancellor. And the son was very enamored. So he constructed the first buildings of the main building and the camps around it. And that is the kernel of the buildings which later became KAP 1, Kerala Armed Police Battalion 1 in 1971. And they constructed the barracks, and each of the barracks had balconies. And these balconies were copies of Romeo and Juliet, the famous drama of Shakespeare. All of you must remember the balcony scene. Good night, parting in such a sweet sorrow, that I shall say good night till it be morrow. Like that, Romeo and Juliet were expressing. Even now, you can play that scene in that barrack. In between, there was a proposal to demolish all the barracks, and I wrote a 5-page note to Kerala government. This should not be destroyed. It has a history. And then only the government realized the history of that place, and the barrack is still protected. It is used by the police academy now. And before the construction was completed, the Raja died in 1932. Thereby, her reign also ended. So the son could never become the vice chancellor. But the idea was continuing. So in 1955, after independence, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our beloved Prime Minister, came and inaugurated the Cochin University in the present Police Academy camp. The photos and the foundation stone, etc. are there. But then Panampalli Govindra Menon had a dream of bringing it to Chalakudy, which is his place. So he shifted it to Chalakudy. But before the Cochin University could be constructed in Chalakudy, he was voted out in the assembly in a no confidence motion. It remained like that for another 15 years when C. Achyuta Menon, a man of Thrissur, but he shifted it to Kalamassery. And that is how the Parkutti Nethyarama's Cochin University ultimately ended up at Kalamassery in the Cochin University. But Thrissur people need not worry. Thrissur has 3 universities now. So the 3 university structure. The 4th one I am trying to bring there, the Police University, to be brought to Rammoram as a 4th university. But 3 universities are there. But if Cochin University originally came up, it would have been the 2nd university of Kerala after Kerala University of 1939. So a very far-sighted lady, she wanted to bring the Cochin University to that place. And this reign was going on like this when Parkutti Nethyarama wanted to bring in new ideas. So she brought a Diwan from England, great Diwan. His name was Herbert, H-E-R-B-E-R-T, Herbert. Herbert ruled from around 1925 to around 1932. He brought in many ideas for the development of Thrissur, wonderful ideas. He brought in the museum there. He brought in the cultural institutions one by one there. And he developed many other institutions and brought a master plan of Thrissur. Now, Banerjee brought in a great thing. Then Bhurre from Maharashtra, Bengali fellow brought something. Then Maharashtrian fellow came with something. Then Raghavacharya, our native, brought in something. And then came Herbert. And Herbert from England brought in some wonderful ideas. The first one is that railway line should connect Thrissur. If you people have no railway line, how will you get connected with the rest of the world? The airport and air services will come very late. So if you are traveling in car, your cities will not develop. And Thrissur city at that time had a 5 square kilometers of area and a population of around 40,000 people. The population has doubled. In 1951 census, it became 59,000. Thrissur population became 59,000. Now, Herbert drew a map of Thrissur. He said this town should not be a town of 5 square kilometers. It should be a town of 50 square kilometers. 1 0 should be added. So he developed a master plan of Thrissur, which will have an area of 50 square kilometers. He said this should be the largest city in Kerala. It will overtake Trivandrum, it will overtake Calicut, it will overtake Kochi. So the largest city. At that time, 1930s, you should remember, he is planning for a city of 50 square kilometers. He said that this city should have 3 lakh population, 3 lakh population. The Queen said, what are you dreaming? You are daydreaming something. He said, no. Thrissur town has the capacity to develop like this. So that's why I'm drawing a map of 50 square kilometers with an expected population of 3 lakhs. Look at that man thinking 90 years back. Something is going to happen now in 1921. Roughly, Thrissur town is now 50 square kilometers and the population is nearing 3 lakhs. So 90 years back, Herbert planned it. And he said there should be a railway line coming and going out of Thrissur. And the existing railway line he extended to pass through Thrissur. He said the Kochi Angamali railway line should pass through Thrissur to Calicut. Through the sea coast, they should go. But at Thrissur, present district of Thrissur, you should not go through the beach. If you go and construct a railway line through Guruvayur, Kodungalur area, that whole area will be dilapidated by that construction. Let it come to the side of Thrissur and pass through Calicut. And Herbert had a secret idea behind it that you should understand. They estimated that Nilambur teak, golden teak, they wanted to export it to Europe, golden colored teak. So they extended a railway line to Nilambur. And from Nilambur, bringing these teak trees to Kozhikode was very, very difficult. So it should spread down the area and go to Europe. They cut down, they constructed a railway line up to Nilambur by 1921 and connected Kochi to Calicut via Thrissur. And this teak trees of Nilambur was taken to panel. It paneled the Oxford University. It paneled the Glasgow University. So Herbert had a mischievous plan, but as far as development of Thrissur is concerned, it was a wonderful thing. Railway line came into existence. Herbert's plan was successful. And Herbert ruled up to 1935, 1932. And that was a very magnificent time of Parakuttu Nethiyarama. She brought in big libraries, and this lady was a magnificent ruler. Now, she is her close cousin is Chinmayananda Swamiji, our beloved Swamiji, who made us wonder about the great oratorical skill about Indian Puranas and Bhagavad Gita, etc. Palatu Mohandas, the former Chief Secretary of Kerala, is another cousin brother or nephew of Parakuttu Nethiyarama. This Vadakkay Kuruppam Veetil, the family or the wife of Saktandambran up to Parakuttu Nethiyarama produced great persons. And when Mahatma Gandhi came to Thrissur, he stayed with the Parakuttu Nethiyarama. And when the letters of Mahatma Ji was published in 1969 Gandhiana, 5 letters were there addressed to the daughter of Parakuttu Nethiyarama, Vilasini Kediyethu or something like that. So 5 letters, I have read that letters, very close letters written to Parakuttu Nethiyarama. And luckily for us, after Herbert, another great Diwan came. He was the famous Shetty from Kochi. And he ruled for about from 1935 to 1941. And at that time, a revolution which was being brought by Herbert was electrification of Thrissur. He wanted to bring electricity to all the houses of Thrissur. But the tender was given to a private person, on which there was a big agitation in Thrissur. That is called the famous electricity samara, electricity agitation, led by a great person, Sri Krishnan Ezhuthachan. He led that agitation. And ultimately, Shanmugam Shetty negotiated and had that railway, that electricity supply done without private participation, with official communication. So that bringing electricity to Thrissur by Shanmugam Shetty was a great achievement. And this Shanmugam Shetty was spotted by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru took this Shanmugam Shetty to Delhi. And along with John Mathai and Shetty, these are the 2 persons who shaped India's budget formation in the first 3 years, 1947 to 1951. 3-4 years, the budget formation of India, independent India, was done by John Mathai and Shanmugam Shetty. Both were from Kerala, of which Shanmugam Shetty was the Diwan of Kochi. And this series of rulers and the series of divans did a lot for Thrissur. And then in 1941, popular assemblies came into existence. Praja Mandal came into existence, and the democracy and democratic elected leaders took over. And after independence, Thrissur developed fantastically. Now Thrissur has 7 academies, including the police academy. From Sahitya Academy down, almost the major cultural institutions are there. So it is called the cultural capital of Kerala. Thrissur is the cultural capital of Kerala. Second one is the place of academies. 7 academies are there. Now the Central Police Training Institution of Police Academy brought to that place because of my earnest effort for 88 years is the largest police training academy in India, which can train 2,000 people at the same time there. At the same time, 2,000 people can be trained there. It is a major achievement. And an excise training academy came to that place. Then, when I was jail DGP 4 years, I brought in that jail academy and the prison academy also there. So, prison academy, excise academy, and the police training, 3 uniformed services have the training academies in Thrissur. It's a cultural capital. And the city is expanding at a magnificent pace now. And what Herbert planned in 1929 of a city of 50 square kilometers and 3 lakhs people is getting realized after 90 years. I was asked to speak only for 30 minutes. Sorry, I have crossed into 45 minutes now. I am concluding. The development of Thrissur city in the last 1,300 years and primarily in the last 225 years is a great matter for study. Any number of PhD theses can be written by BTech students there. Any number of students of culture and literature can do any number of PhDs based on the things there. Many number of PhD theses can be written on town planning and architectural style of that place. For example, the temple architecture of Vadakunatha temple, the only temple with the wooden paneled paintings, mural paintings, and the wonderful wooden structure on the roof, and the way of its architectural style is marvelous. There should be a big compendium written on the construction of Vadakunatha temple and its festival and its great ornamental activities. Like that, there are a lot of things. So a series of studies should be done. And this great lady, Parkutu Nethiyarama, never got a mention in Thrissur history, nor got any memorials also. So when I was jail DGP in Thrissur, I established a children's park. So I called Tharambal Ramakrishnan sir to come and inaugurate it. And he asked me in whose name it is. I said, Parkutu Nethiyarama. He said, what is it? He is a distant relative of Parkutu Nethiyarama. He said there will be a problem because you are not naming it after a political leader or any chief minister or former chief minister. I said, sir, this whole Ramapuram camp is possible only because of her. 18 institutions came up on this place. 1,000 acres has been converted as a development area of Thrissur. If Thrissur people don't remember this lady, it's a great ingratitude to the highest order. So he agreed. He said, don't give publicity. So he came and inaugurated that park. Now, Parkutu Nethiyarama, this marvelous lady, have only one memorial in Thrissur. That is the park named after her in the central prison. Now, there are great people in Thrissur who should be remembered. And when I occasionally talk with some people in Thrissur, and I talk about Banerjee or Bhure or Raghavacharya, they have no idea who these fellows are. The Bengali Banerjee or the Maharashtrian Bhure or Raghavacharya who have done work. If you talk to an ordinary Thrissur fellow about Herbert, he has no heard about Herbert. A man from England who came and did such wonderful work for Thrissur town should be remembered. So this is what is ingratitude of the people. So I apologize for taking 15 minutes more. But the Thrissur Management Association should, Thrissur Management Association should do some studies on the architectural development of the design of Thrissur and how it is being achieved after about 100 years. And ordinary people in Thrissur should be made to know about the great persons who shaped their history and who shaped this magnificent town, in which I was lucky to stay for 8 years as the director of Kerala Police Academy. Thank you very much for Thrissur Management Association and all these members for inviting me to this talk. Thank you.
It's fantastic, sir. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Alexander. You have taken a history of 1,300 years back to 1,300 years, and especially the last 225 years in such a lucid manner. The people of Thrissur are grateful to you because, like you rightly mentioned, many of us do not know our history. They do not know where to go for this knowledge. And I think people like you will really bring back the good legacy back to us. And once we get this legacy back, I'm sure there are a lot of people who would like to be grateful to these people who are architects of this great town. In fact, the other day, our senior member, engineer VRU Menon, said that we should develop youngsters who, like abroad, we have this walking tour, who talks about the history of Thrissur. So if all this can be documented and taken forward, it'd be very nice. Thank you for enriching us with this information. Now this forum is open for questions. Please. You can unmute and then ask the question. All of you are muted. You can just unmute and then ask the question.
Excellent speech. I would like to know whether you have written anything about Thrissur, if you have, which I have not really read, but I know that you are a great individual who is almost a historian, but some book which we need to have in our library, TMA library, on Thrissur.
I have not written it. I can write it and send it to you.
Yes, you must
Please.
definitely, because this is going to be
Yes.
something which we will cherish for in our lifetime, and it's going to be a record for all the future generations, sir.
Thank you. And the records of Parakut Nethyarama is available in the Madras archives. I have gone to Chennai and seen those archives in which Parakut Nethyarama has a lot of records there. So that should be fetched out from there for your reference. And in Ernakulam, there is some reference about this Cochin Rajas and their dynastic succession. That can be taken from the Cochin archives.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, we have not heard about Parakutti Nethyarama. Only you have said about this lady. Earlier also, I remember in one occasion you have talked about her. But we Thrissurian, we don't know. We know monument, no statue for her, and we don't know anything about her. It is she has done so much for the Thrissur. It's high time that the Thrissur people should think of making a monument for Parakutti Nethyarama.
Yes, it should be done.
We will consider that.
Sir.
Yes, Unniyatan, yes.
Sir,
Go ahead.
Sir. Sorry, I will start with your Karambil Ramakrishna's reference. And our Architects and Engineers Association was a consultant to one subway, the first subway in Thrissur. And the foundation stone was, he insisted the foundation stone should be laid by the granddaughter of Parakutti Nethyarama. We know I am related to Kurpat family and Shambi and everything. Whatever you said, I know. I heard and heard. And about Herbert, I think you have mentioned that Herbert who has made a big canal connecting Kodungalur and Kozhikode.
Yes, same fellow.
Same fellow. And another thing, you know very well about Uttarthi Ramamenon. And Sarvadi Adistar of Kochi. He died in 1974. Uttarthi Ramamenon. He wrote two books. One about Second Tamburan, second about Thrissur. And in that book, he has clearly written Diwan Shanmugha, you have referred him. He concreted in 1900 the round.
Yes.
Okay. Puttaisi Ramamenon, he died in 1974.
Yes, sir. I have that book with me. That book I have with me.
He has written more
I
than
have that,
100 books. 100 books.
I have that book with me. I purchased a copy.
And he refers one to Peter Drucker, Geddes. And that is a great UK town planner. He came to Kerala and he was wondered about the great town planning of Thrissur. And he said, I will quote this, but instead of temple, I will put a market over there. And there are very beautiful round, just like a belly bit that he has made, they have made wonderful. That 13 to 14 roads are coming to the round, Rikshnawali. And he said that is exactly like the nerves of a man. He was praising like anything. And that is, about that great flood and Tonnottambile Vellapokam. That was somewhere 1923. Ramanan says, people of Thrissur went to see the flood somewhere in Varanapalli or somewhere else. We don't have any flood. So I have got a different opinion about the round quantity town planning. And Parvatinya Charma is her contribution to dynasty of Cochin. I know very well.
Punyatan, please keep it short because there are others who are wanting to ask
questions.
The point is taken. We appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Punyatan.
Ramakrishnan was very happy to name it after Parvatinya Charma. He came and inaugurated that park. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Neta. Next. Please unmute.
So my name is Francis. I'm the Secretary of Thrissur Management Association. It was a great session, very informative. I was just curious, how many months or years of research has gone into this, putting together all the pieces of information of history.
Thank you. I did
And
it when I was academy director there. I could get this information from there.
Okay. I'm sure, you burned quite a bit of midnight oil to piece it all together, right?
Thank you.
Okay. Next.
So I got 2 points. Sir,
Go ahead.
Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I can hear you.
I got 2 points. One thing is regarding the concrete road of the rounds, which you said about 100 years old now. But unfortunately, a few years back, when the present higher education minister was the mayor, that road was completely demolished and retarred. And present condition is not very happy. Lot of potholes and whatnot. That is one thing. Secondly, beg your pardon? Secondly, sir, since you are very familiar with Thrissur and Peringau, etc., is there any remnants of that big water tank which was in Peringau? I have never seen anything there, that area. I have not seen any remnants.
Well, it is now preserved and it is used as a water supply system to the SC/ST colonies in Ramoramuram. They get water from that Peringau pond. That is preserved by the municipality now.
Right, sir.
So that is inside the campus.
Thank you, sir.
Can I ask? Can I just ask one, sir? Something
yes,
slightly different. This Mr. Herbert did a wonderful job, yes. But if it is construed as it was in the process of taking the loots from India, they made all this. In the process, something good happened.
Yes.
What is your take on this, sir?
No, he has a side angle view. That's a said it as a joke. He did it for Thrissur, but there was a side intention for an Englishman. That's all I said.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. That was a wonderful session, very informative. I had listened to you many times. This is the third time I'm listening to you. Excellent, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Please. Go ahead.
The railway line from Shornur to Ernakulam was constructed in 1901 or 2 by the king Ramavarma. Because he has contributed. Yeah, he has contributed money for this construction of the work. There are some records for that. Yeah, the jewelry and coins, whatever he was having, it was donated for this purpose only.
Yes, yes.
So the king has constructed that railway track.
He had the main job.
Yeah. He used to come.
Yes, yes. 1902 to 1925, it took 23 years to complete the entire line.
Yeah. I think before that only. It's around.
No,
it was
1902. The main money was paid by king.
King.
But it took bits and pieces of thing. And ultimately, the full line connected from Kochi, Thrissur, Shornur, and Nilambur, it took 23 years to complete.
Shornur Nilambur line is very, very old one. There was no track or anything. Only railway. Yeah.
1922, it was inaugurated.
Yeah,
the Nilambur line was inaugurated on 1922. 1922 March.
Yeah. Very old one. Very old one.
Very well.
Only that railway line, there's no sleeper or anything below that one. Only over the mud. It was sleepers were there. Because I traveled those days. Long back I have traveled there. Because some undulations were there always.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good,
sir.
Next. If you want to ask a question, please unmute and ask.
Sir, my name is Shantakumar. I've been listening to you. I'm a constant listener to all your YouTube thing. So for the information of the members, I may say you can not only talk about Thrissur, any topic under the sun. He has studied well and he has exhibited it, presented it very beautifully. He has talked about some temples in the Kannur and all that I have heard. And he has gone in depth into it. And he's such a prolific reader. And I mean, he spends a lot of time and he loves. Somebody told me that when he came to transfer to the academy, 2 truckloads of books were brought. His furniture and all those things were very little. And 2 trucks which accompanied him was of books. Sir, my question is this Thrissur collectorate was it constructed by Parvati Netya or it was a subsequent to this thing?
That was subsequent. That was subsequent. I think it was constructed only by around 1956. Okay. That's my memory. I'm not sure about it. It was constructed much later than this, about 1956 only. Now, but the hill was very famous. That hill was very famous, and that name there was an attempt to change that name of the hill in which a collectorate was there. Now, that was prevented by the QN. And another thing was, there was a proposal to destroy Gosai Kunna. The Gosais are the sannyasis who come to Thrissur during the Thrissur Puram. There was some effort to destroy the Gosai Kunna, which the QN said no. You must have heard Shivulli Narayanam's famous poem. Chayan Chethi Viricha Chenjadagal Cherna Sidrashu Paran Govarasangalarna Viriyum Mandol Maranjadiyumayi Gosayimari Thrissur Pudithana Karakan Nadakkunna. ആ ഗോസായിമാരെ അവിടെ ഒഴിപ്പിക്കാൻ ശ്രമം ക്യൂൻ ബ്ലോക്ക് ചെയ്തത്. പക്ഷെ അടുത്ത കാലത്ത് ഞാൻ ചെന്നപ്പോ ഗോസായിക്കൊന്നും വലിയ ഫ്ലാറ്റുകളൊക്കെ പണിയിട്ടിരിക്കുന്നതായിട്ടാണ് ഇപ്പൊ കാണുന്നത്. ഇപ്പൊ ഗോസായിമാരുണ്ടോ എന്ന് എനിക്ക് അറിഞ്ഞുകൂടാ. So these two are side information on the thing.
Gosaikun is there. Second thing, Mr. Rao was the governor. It was shifted from Thrissur to Ayandol, the collectorate and the Ayandol. Collectorate was shifted, was administrator under governor's rule.
Governor's rule.
Okay, good. I think we are running out of time. So thank you once again, Dr. Alexander Jacob. It was really enthralling. to show our love and affection for what you have done for Thrissur and the rich knowledge you have preserved for Thrissur. Like what was suggested here, it would be nice if you could write a book. We'll be really thankful to if you could make one, and we will really have a good launch of that if you could do with whatever research you have done. Now, we would like to hand over a small memento to you. It is a product. Shobi, can you just put it on? It is products made out of Thank you. So this is made by an NGO which supports artisans who make products out of coconut, and this will be couriered to you. Thank you once again. Now for the vote of thanks, I invite Engineer Francis George, our Honorable Secretary.
Thank you, Vinod. I first of all want to thank Engineer Vinod Manjula, our President, for presiding over this meeting, as well as delivering the presidential address and the welcome address, and introducing the chief guest, and also getting in touch with the chief guest through one of our members, and arranging for this webinar. Next, I would like to thank the chief guest of the day and the speaker, Dr. Alexander Jacob, IPS, for the wonderful session. It's one of the best that I've attended in a very long time. Very informative and a very rare, I would say, very rare depiction of the history of Thrissur. It was really wonderful. Thank you once again, sir. I would also like to thank the sponsor, Sun Medical and Research Center, for making this event happen. And I want to thank all the past presidents of TMA, the office bearers, and everyone else who attended this webinar. Thank you and have a good evening.
So thank you once again. The meeting is adjourned. Good night. Good night.